Beautiful. Welcome everybody to the Just Ask Vodcast. Ben Strasser here for episode number 4. Really excited to have Graeme Reed join us today. Thank you for joining us, Graeme.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
So Graeme, magician for over a decade, audiences of 20 to over 500. You've appeared on CTV, Global, CHCH, and you've also performed at a TEDx fairly recently too. So we're going to kind of dive into all of that and unwrap it all. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a super neat opportunity.
Thank you. So what we talk about on Just Ask, we're talking about performing, public speaking, kind of putting yourself on a stage, whether it's actually like on a physical stage in front of lots of people, or it's on a stage like we're doing right now. You and I are conversing, where we're being recorded, we're talking, and we're sharing. So a lot of people can find that nerve-wracking, myself included to a certain point. I think everybody has those little nervous jitters, like pre-game jitters before they get going. But we want to dive right in. Do you remember the first time that you had to perform, like whether it be magic or you spoke in public, had to do some public speaking? And were you nervous?
Yeah, so like I think like I did it when I performed magic shows when I was a child, right? But I
Nice.
remember like that was a little different. But I remember maybe when I started to take the magic career and more a professional stage and doing like Yuck Yucks for the first time.
Right.
That was like the first comedy club I was doing. The idea to me of doing Yuck Yucks, doing magic on stage, because traditionally I've done like, a birthday party. I do a lot of close-up restaurant magic too.
Okay. Cool.
But like doing a stage thing, talking in front of a bunch of people with a microphone, right? A microphone there. I was so terrified. And what I had actually done for all my tricks, I had a case. I was going to perform 3 tricks in about 10 minutes, 10, 12-ish minutes. And I had all 3 tricks prepared 3 different ways. So if I were to drop, like, say, this lighter, I had 2 more to go. If I were to drop the deck of cards, I had 2 other decks of cards ready to go. If I just dropped a cup, I had 2 other cups ready to go. So everything was all
set.
I was overplanned, terrified, like so hot and sweaty. But I think in the end, though, it went okay.
Nice.
It went okay.
That's all we can ask for, right?
Yeah. It went okay. Yeah.
Cool. Do you still get nervous before you go? Before you go on stage, or before, like you said, you do some restaurant performances before you go in there and approach people?
So I think I'm pretty comfortable in a restaurant now. It's always the first table though that's
Right.
like, oh, I gotta approach some people and just kind of go, hey guys, my name's Gramazing, that's real. I'm a magician here, also real. And then go into the magic tricks. But right when I get rolling after that first table, it's okay. When I do my performances, I still get nervous. And if there's a day, there are times when I haven't been nervous. And I find if I have that overconfidence, it's gonna be a bad show. So
Interesting.
I like to have the nerves, but not to be too nervous. I did do a show recently where I got to perform with like these magicians I really looked up to when I was a kid,
Right.
and I got too nervous for the show, and I think it was okay, but it could have been better.
Right.
So I think a little fire is totally important to have a great show, right? To have that adrenaline before doing anything.
Right. Do you obviously you enjoy performing magic?
Totally.
It's been something since you said you were just young when you first started to work on your magic skill, like to build that all up. Has it been like a lifelong journey from like when you were like first little?
Yeah, so it's like I describe it as my skateboard or my guitar, I guess.
Cool.
So when I was 8 years old, I saw it on TV, and I got hooked instantly into the ideas of like the illusions and the showmanship and everything like that. Like I originally wanted to do like birds and silks and things, and I don't do that kind of magic. It's not my style really. But yeah, so I got interested in that, and I remember my grandparents would call me up all the time, tell me every single time there'd be a magic special on TV, and record it, in the VCR.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, old school, dating myself. Yeah. But yeah, doing that, and it's always been my thing, going to see magic shows with my family, like these charity magic shows. We were lucky enough to go to a resort up in Northern Ontario sometimes with my family, and that's where I got to see some of these really cool magic acts that now you'll see on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, all these cool Las Vegas specials. So heavily inspired as a kid, and I've always been passionate about doing this, and I've always performed, whether it's birthday parties, restaurants, or now kind of a mix of like corporate events, private parties, and restaurant magic.
Right. And so you recently had performed at the TEDx in Mississauga,
Yeah, that
correct?
was a couple years ago. I did
A
TEDx
couple years
Mississauga.
ago?
Yeah, yeah, which was
Nice. That's cool.
yeah. And for me, it was too soon. It was a too soon situation, but a great,
Right.
incredible opportunity. And I still think it went okay. Went okay too. And there's a lot of so I remember being terrified because it's Mississauga Performing Arts Center, the biggest stage that
Right.
I'm ever gonna do, and it's also TEDx, right? Huge
Hmm.
brand, and all these professional speakers. Luckily, I'm just doing a performance. I don't have to talk about anything too amazing. So
That's interesting though that you would like compare because what you're doing is also difficult as well
I get,
compared to what they're doing too. You know what I mean? Like I would look at them as very similar.
I guess so. Sure, yeah. I guess yeah. We're all going on stage together, and we don't know what to expect and everything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's interesting backstage to see all these speakers
Right.
losing their minds, right? Like being terrified, nervous about having to do these talks. Because for some of them, it was actually their first big public public
Right.
speech. But I'm now seeing them too because it's been a couple of years since. A lot of them have become like influential speakers, and they run these big organizations now and everything like. So it's really neat to see where they've gone from then,
Yeah.
and now that that's what they do is a lot of public speaking.
Yeah.
Another terrifying thing happened too at TEDx was just before I went on stage, I found out one of the speakers canceled. So they asked if I could do an extra like 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah,
Great.
yeah. So luckily, there like some magicians carry the essential tricks sometimes that just like they pack flat and smart that you can
Right.
just carry. And if you're asked that question, you're like, yeah,
This
I,
is what I've been planning for.
yeah, I can do that. I can do that. So
That's
if you watch the TEDx thing, the trick that I do at the start, I introduce at the start and I close with was
right.
not planned. It just happens. It was kind of on the fly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's amazing.
It's gramazing.
Yeah.
How much preparation goes into a show?
Right now, I still put in way too much preparation because I'm still learning, and I think I'm still early in like taking this as a professional career.
Mhm.
Like sometimes I'll spend only maybe a couple hours. Some
Yeah.
days it might be a couple days preparing.
Right.
But it's also like a weird question to answer too, like how long is a piece of string or something, I guess, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes I'll take an existing act and rework it, different things.
Yep.
Sometimes I'm working on a completely new piece. Like coming up this, I don't know when this will air, but at the end of every Thursday of each month, we do this
Yep.
show in Hamilton called Smooth Comedy, and we
Yep.
try to do new pieces of material.
Nice.
So that's kind of like a month of brainstorming, and then trying. It's usually like the last couple of days.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this should air just before the Tuesday before that goes.
Okay, so in that time, I would be like, "Oh shoot, I got to come up with a whole new thing," and then be
Yeah.
like crunching on like a new routine or a new method, or maybe bring out something old and try to reshape it, rescript it, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Neat. Do you have any like pre-show rituals that you do? Like, is there anything? I mean, I'm sure you saw quite a bit with those individuals at TEDx,
Right.
with what they were doing. Like, I know a lot of people end up pacing. There's some anxiety there of what they're getting themselves into.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't have like a necessarily set up ritual. I guess usually I'm like this the whole
Yeah.
time. I guess
Yeah.
you.
Showman.
My hair usually like I don't wear a hat. Usually it's a bad hair day, but usually I have a lot of glue in my hair and it's all up.
Mhm.
So I just
Right.
ask someone near me, I go, "Do I look electrocuted?" That's kind of the line I say to someone backstage before I go out all the time. "Do I look electrocuted?" "Great." And
Nice.
then I go out.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any tips for individuals that maybe are looking to get into just getting in front of people, not
Um,
necessarily directly performing magic?
but doing anything like that? I guess
Yeah,
whatever platform it is, you just kinda have to do it to experience it, right? Like, I know that
right,
was, when I think the biggest hurdle, like, when I first started doing restaurant magic was the scariest. You have to approach all these people in a weird situation, like, no one's expecting you to come up and go like, "Hey, guys, wanna see this stuff?" And at the time, I would have been in high school, so, like, a 15-year-old kid, and I have a natural baby face, so, like, a 12-year-old kid coming up to your table to show you magic, it was terrifying, but all I wanna do is perform magic, or if someone
right,
wants to all they wanna do is speak, or if someone all they
mhm,
wanna do is host. The only way to do it is really just like you got to do it once and then twice and then a million times. And then you'll start to figure out like maybe this isn't for me, or you'll find your niche or something that you specifically like
Right.
in performance or hosting or getting in front of people. Like maybe you start to I know of a magician that became a stand-up comic and now he's super successful, and I think he writes for This Hour's 22 Minutes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So like it, you know, if you're interested in speaking in front of people, you never know where you might end up doing something unique, like
Right.
all sorts of things.
Or what crowd you or who you might get in front of just by putting yourself out there, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like crowds varying from 20 to 500 people. Chances are there's a few people in there that are going to be able to say, you know what, you'd be perfect for this. Would you ever try this? Have you ever thought of this?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely. What would you say is your performance or like speaking style?
So I would say I'm like casual. I do a lot of pop culture references and things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of friendly, carefree, maybe like a little unsure of myself at the same time. A little bit of that
Right.
in there too. Yeah, a
Right.
little discomfort, but yeah.
Yeah. And I think we like talked about that earlier, was the idea that that's really good. Like you need a little bit of that in
I
your
think so.
system,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Unless, well,
Um
it depends on who you are, right? Like you might be
yeah.
like a broski that needs to be all fired up, right? And maybe you gotta like,
Yeah,
ha,
slap it down, do the haka and like
yeah,
slap all down. Yeah,
Ric
for
Flair
sure.
up, yeah,
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 right. Woo!
yeah, right.
That was a poor Ric Flair, but somebody will call me out on that. Uh, was there a moment where you became comfortable with what you're doing when you're performing?
I feel
Like
like
a specific moment? Yeah.
so right now I've been experiencing a huge character shift because when I first started entering into like full-time magic, I was still kind of working part-time in graphic design and advertising. So that was a
Right.
heavy part of who I was and my character was in my script. And I
Mhm.
found like it worked, like ad persuasion, and maybe like I can persuade you with this. And that's what drove the mentalism and mind reading that I would do in my shows. But
Right.
now I don't like, it's not like my thing anymore.
Mhm.
So I've been trying to uncover like what am I doing? So it's now I'm on a whole new avenue of really uncovering out why am I grazing, like and what am I where am I coming from and why do I want to do this? I'm not
Right.
necessarily this advertising guy anymore.
Right. And where did the name, the brand Grimazing come from?
So I I was doing restaurant magic and a magician came in and his name and he's a friend too, Chris Turchy. He calls himself Christerius.
Nice.
Right, but I don't
Nice.
know if he makes it. I don't think he makes it as big of a joke as I make. Like grimacing is a constant joke to me. Like it's super stupid to me. I think he knows it's a little bit silly, but so I went to college. Like my college professor, and I told him about that. I met this guy Christerius, and he said I should call myself grimacing. So that was like in college. So at that point, I was like, yeah, sure, I'll call myself grimacing. That's really stupid. So now, like, I have all these lines. Hey, my name is Grimazing. That's real. I'm a wizard, also real, but only level 7 wizard.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Um, like I find like performance, whether you're performing on a stage as a magician or as a musician, or you're in a studio as a host, but that act of balancing and reading, like for you, would be your audience and how to kind of work with them and to see, like, is that something that like how much of that comes into what you're doing, like reading how the audience is reacting?
To me, it's a huge part because I like to add like a little improvisation into my shows. So
Right.
and I experienced this recently because I did bigger shows just recently, like this little mini tour where the audiences were like 5 to 600 people.
Yep.
And in that situation, like the audience is like one big reaction. But if you're
Right.
in like a small black box theater, which I'm used to, like 60-ish people, maybe even less, like 30, 20, or like a comedy club, you can feel everybody's reaction, right?
Right.
And you can make eye contact with every single person in that room. Or I also do the close up restaurant magic. So you're working with groups of 4 to 2, right? So
Right.
like
Right.
you really can interact with everybody and make sure everyone's having a good time. And if I'm too excited and they're a little chill, bring it down.
Right.
Try to react with everyone's energy a little, so it's not too weird,
Right.
I guess. But yeah, try to always see what's going on. And sometimes you're just screwed, and like it just you can't. You're like I can't figure this out. This is
And
just.
what I oh, sorry?
I was just gonna say this. You're like just this is just a weird audience that I just don't get. We just don't mesh for whatever reason.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Uh, I can see it on your face as you talk about it, like, your face just lights right up. Your eyes, your smile, you're just excited, you love it. Um, what do you hope to achieve through sharing your magic?
All I want to do, like my only goal right now, because I've been working full time before I started doing magic, is if I can just make a comfortable living, keep my house, keep my animals, keep all this stuff, and just continue this with like a comfortable living. I don't
Right,
necessarily like seek a huge fame. Like I don't want to be the, top got talent guy or anything like that. But I would like to just be like, maybe like one of Southern Ontario's top magicians, one of Ontario or
right.
Canada's top magicians. But I think soon enough everyone's gonna know Gramazing. It's such a silly name.
What's it like now being like the magicians that the kids look up to, like you're performing for them?
So like yeah, when I was a kid, I remember always experiencing magic and all these magicians. And some of them are friends now, and one is actually a mentor, and I get to perform with them all the time, which is super incredible and super
Nice.
bizarre. So I understand the importance of when a kid comes in and sees me do magic or asks me a question after, to not pull them along. Because I remember meeting magicians, and sometimes they would lie to you, like, "Oh, like I'm really interested in magic. I want to learn how this is done," and they'll give you like a Hogwarts style answer
Right.
instead of like, you can go to the magic shop. There's a magic shop in Toronto or a magic shop in Kitchener. Ask the storekeeper. You can get this book, or like now you go online and find this book, and that's where you
Right.
can start to read and learn the magic. And if you're really interested, here's my business card and email me or something. Get back because learning anything like a guitar or skateboard, you have to put some interest into it to gain the
Right.
like someone's respect to teach you more, right?
That's that's
So,
in, that's incredible, man. I really that's really cool that you do that and take that time.
oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I see, and I try to remember everyone's name too, which is an incredible, super tricky feat too.
But it's important because that's the first thing that you're ever given is a name
Right.
other than life, but it's your name, and that's something that a lot of people hold very, very close to themselves. And when you're able to memorize and know people's names, that's
Hmm.
something that immediately you have that connection with them.
Yeah, I guess even in speaking or like in business or in anything, if you remember someone's name and you address them by their name, that's like one of the best magic tricks you can do without doing any sort of real
Yeah.
magic. You know what I mean?
That's very true. You mentioned the show it'll be this coming Thursday, I believe, and we'll make sure that we post those details inside of the post. But are there any other shows that are coming up um, that
Uh,
you'd like to share?
I guess I always have a secret show going on, and it doesn't really have a set date because it's a secret, and it
Cool.
just
That's
pops up. So you have to stay tuned to social media, and really, I guess hashtag KW Secret Show is the best way to find it, or if you follow myself on social media, because the idea is I try to find, or like we try to find. There's a group of us, some of the
right.
top magicians in Ontario that want to do kind of a cheaper open mic style magic show, but for the public, because magic is so exciting and to make magic accessible for people. So it's a pop up show, and who knows where it'll be, who knows when it'll be,
That's
but you got to keep
amazing.
your eyes open for it. The next one's April 11th. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, Graham, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us on Just Ask. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your craft and sharing your journey and your experience. So we look forward to seeing you at upcoming performances, and we will definitely stay tuned to the KW Secret Show hashtag so that we can see where those are going to pop up. So again, thank you so much. And with that, we will see you next time.
awesome. Thanks, Ben.